Hello, everybody. Happy Victory Sunday. Hopefully, you're getting ready to watch the Lions. Maybe you've already watched them. I'm going to release this video in a couple hours, so it'll go out at I guess a few hours. So it'll go out at 10:30, recording this ahead of time. I really do think Michigan got a lucky break in this one. I think it's very clear that they're the more talented team. We all know that. I could talk about all these things for a million years, but I want to talk about the lucky break that they did catch. And it has to do with all facets of the game against Purdue. And I think what's coming next. I think what's coming next is a big deal as well. So we are going to get into that. As you are watching the channel this week, look for some recruiting news. In a few days, I'm actually getting all of my wisdom teeth taken out. They say I'm too old and it's going to hurt more. But we'll just see about that. So I'll be down and out for a few days. So if you don't see a video, that is why. And if it ends up being more than 4 or 5 days, just know I'm hurting. But I should be good. All right. So thoughts and prayers with that. But anyways, let's talk about this game. I think we can't hide it. We can't deny it. All right. Bryce Underwood was not good in this football game. We've been talking highly about this young man in many of these broadcasts after games. I can't do that in this one. He was bad. Arguably, he was the worst player on the field for us in this game. He missed open receivers routinely, whether they were crossing over the middle, whether he was rolling out to the right, whether they were running wide open down the sideline, or whether it was a deep shot, or just flat out not seeing wide open players. I think my view on this game is very unique. I thought this was an extremely well drawn out game plan by our offensive coordinator, Chip Lindsey. In fact, I will make the argument, and I can just hang with me here for a second, that Chip Lindsey's game plan was even better than what Wink had going on defense. Wink Martindale had we're going to allow him to dink and dunk us to death, which really made a big difference in the time of possession, but that didn't matter because we still ended up running the ball. We'll talk about Jordan Marshall a little bit later. I thought it was a great game plan. There were wide open guys, unlike any game I've seen. Against Michigan State, I felt like players were covered. The wide receivers were covered. There was almost nowhere to go with the football for Bryce Underwood, so we stuck to the running game. In this game, guys were absolutely wide open. This almost reminded me of a 7-on-7 drill. Like the way guys were getting open, and there was time to throw the ball. Sure, there was a little bit of pressure, and that is where the entire difference happened for our quarterback, and that's the lucky break. Even though Bryce Underwood was really bad, even though we were without 2 and then 3 of our linebackers, of our 4, we got 4 starting linebackers because they moved Jayshon Barham back to linebacker off of the edge. All right. And that allowed us to have a little more depth at linebacker. Then he got hurt. So all of a sudden we're at Taylor. We're at bunting. And all of a sudden we're like, oh my goodness. And I don't mean bunt like in baseball, right? Like, oh, we got to bunt this one. No. All right. Nathaniel Owusu bunting. And we were playing these young guys. They held up. No, they didn't go make outstanding plays, but they held up. And the break is that in college football, in the NIL transfer portal era, it is much more difficult to go out and have a quarterback lay an egg like Bryce Underwood did, which he will. He's a freshman. It is much more difficult to go out and have a quarterback lay an egg and get a victory than it was 10 years ago. It just is. Everybody has more talent. There's more equally spread out talent across teams, I believe, now than there was before. There's still the big boys, right? There's still teams that are clearly more talented, but the talent level is spread out more across the field. Now, this game for Bryce Underwood could have happened against Ohio State. This game could have happened against Nebraska. This game could have happened against Wisconsin. This game could have happened against Washington. And if a game like this happens against any of those teams, it's a loss. Even if it happens against Maryland in a few weeks, it's going to be a loss. And it happened at home against Purdue. And what I'm talking about here, and you know me after games, I'm a big box score guy. I love looking at the box score. I don't know what it is. All right. He was 13 of 22 for 145 yards. And what you might be saying is, well, that's actually kind of similar to some of the games that he's put together. Yeah, the difference is he probably should have been 18 of 22 for 245 yards. He just missed wide open players. Missing them. Wide open. Has an interception where he had an absolute wide open Donovan McCulley in the corner of the end zone. He throws into a guy cutting underneath, double coverage. He throws, he has a fumble that goes through the back of the end zone. If Bryce Underwood just plays within himself in this game, Michigan wins it at minimum 35-16. Minimum. And probably is closer to 38-42-16. And then we have the game that we're looking at. But he didn't do that. All right? So basically what we relied on was Jordan Marshall. Now, I'm going to make another argument here. We opened the game throwing the football. That set up the run. And I know that we were throwing the football with moderate accuracy at the beginning of the game, but the defense had to respect the game plan we were calling, and it absolutely opened up the run for Jordan Marshall. 25 carries, 185 yards, 7.4 yards per attempt. Here's the thing that I'm going to go ahead and say about Jordan Marshall. Is he the home run threat? All right. Now, by the way, he had a big dog. He had an over 50-yard carry. He had a 54-yard run where he bounced it to the outside and showed fantastic speed. All right. He ran to the outside. He had another one that he bounced to the outside and showed fantastic speed to outrun a linebacker and a safety. Look, I'm not saying he's better than Justice Haynes. I'm not going out and saying that. But he is between the tackles. He is. And he is one of those guys that he ran with patience. He ran with poise. He ran with power. All right. Do I have any other P words that I can use? I don't know. He was fantastic in this game. And when you go into it and you say, even against Purdue, even at home, if you say Bryce Underwood is going to lay an egg, we are going to be without our strongest position group on defense, which is our linebackers, and basically Ernest Hausman is going to have to play all of the defense, how do I think we are going to fare? Like, I would say, all right, we're probably going to struggle because we're probably going to have to put up 30 points in order to win. We didn't have to do that. The defense held firm. All right, the defense held firm. All right, we forced a fumble. We got an interception, so we matched them on the turnovers. All right, Ryan Brown had 19 completions and only 24 attempts, but it was for only 133 yards. That's the thing you have to understand. His average per throw is only 5.5 yards. All right, so while we allowed a very high completion percentage, we kept him hemmed in. I don't think it's the answer against all teams. Some of the missed tackles started showing up and things like that. Better teams will take advantage of it. Again, still a lot to clean up. Still not convinced Sharon Moore is the guy. All right, but we're winning football games. We're winning football games. We're 7-2. We're 7-2. All right, so we caught a lucky break. We are in the midst of a stretch where we played against Purdue. Now we get to go, and that we showed up against Washington. We did. We showed up kind of against Michigan State. But the last 2 weeks haven't done a ton for my confidence in this team. Let's get another bye week. Let's go. Let's run rough shot over Northwestern. Let's smoke Maryland. Let's get ourselves a little more confident, 9-2, heading into Ohio State with all the marbles. All right, that's all I got for you. Hit the subscribe button if you still like what we're doing on this channel. We'll see you on the next one.